All right, this segment is dedicated to us touching base with our citizens, brothers and sisters in the diaspora who are doing big and great things. We've been joined in the program by Adigo Angela Achoba Omajali. She's a clinical practice educator at MHSU, co-chair, Canadian Nurses Association, and Anti-Racism Action Council. Joining us virtually. Thank you so much for coming on the program, and thanks for staying up.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I'm not sure what the time is, so but I know it's quite early. You have to sacrifice a bit of sleep to be able to chat with us. But let's begin from what you're really passionate about: the advocacy for equity in healthcare. What did you see? Let's begin with this story, if you will. What did you observe or see that made you say, no, I'm not going to just sit here and watch this happen. I have to do something?
Thank you again for having me. Before I respond to that, I do want to say, yes, it's almost 1 a.m. here in BC. I'm joining you from Kamloops, which is on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of the Tecumseh people. I've worked in healthcare now for 15 years with the same health authority. But prior to that, my experience stems from accessing the healthcare system as a care consumer or as a patient or as a client, if I may, and really walking into a space where, it's almost as if you're not seen. Or even if you're seen, the care you're getting is really differential treatment. And so as a result of that, I decided, well, first of all, getting into healthcare, into that space to really understand what's going on in the system and seeing ways that I can really disrupt. But then getting into the healthcare system as a nurse has its own layers of burden as well, because then you're going to be receiving that discrimination from both ends, not just as a nurse who is being discriminated against by patients who do not want a Black nurse sometimes, but also by colleagues laterally and potentially even supervisors and managers. So that is something that really fueled for me the passion to continue this work and to initially start this work as someone who is living in a Black body and navigating the healthcare system and the community in Canada looking the way I do.
That's great to hear. And looking through your bio and your achievement, it's beautiful to see. Recipient King Charles III Coronation Medal 2025, 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women 2024, Canadian Top 100 Black Women to Watch, British Columbia Nurses Union Excellence in Leadership and Advocacy Award. All of that, only you, as Nigerians will say. And you're doing great stuff. We had a conversation with Lunia from Zambia in Germany. We're having this conversation with you. And some will see you and say you're living the dream in that sense. What has it cost you to live that dream? And is it really living the dream? And more importantly, how can everyone live their dreams wherever they are?
That is such a good question, Kayode. I will say to a large extent, it is living the dream. It is living the dream because it's a dream that I think you don't wake up from, right? Realizing that it is a dream, but also reality. For me, it's really, as you put it, I guess sacrificing so much. Sacrificing sleep. Like I'm on here with you today. I'm very happy to spend time with you today. But also that sacrifice is really putting an effort to disrupting. So for instance, I'll give you an example. As an effort to disrupt and also to engage in anti-Black racism work, myself and some of my sisters from the African Caribbean Black community, we co-founded a coalition of African Caribbean Black nurses in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd, because we wanted to make sure that work is being done on anti-Black racism within the healthcare system. But also beyond that, on a national level, we also went ahead to, as an organization, to partner with the Pan-Canadian Association of Nurses of African Descent to fight nationally and combat anti-Black racism within nursing and within healthcare. So yes, it might seem like a dream. Yes, like I said, it is a dream, but it's a reality for me every single day, being aware of, okay, where are the opportunities to collaborate? Where are the opportunities to initiate and engage in founding spaces that can push the work forward? As we say in Africa, a broom, the African broom is stronger and does better work in sweeping when there's a very big bundle versus, only a few strands of it, right? So coming together with those nurses and that community, African Caribbean and Black community, is something that has really kept that dream really bearable, right? And a reality that I think I can definitely continue to live.
So let's get up close with that dream now by, first of all, understanding the real issues of racism. We understand that Canada's healthcare is free to residents, but when Black people want to access healthcare, they come up close, as you have said, with those issues of racism. So how does it happen, really? What are those elements of racism that Black people have to deal with? And how has your work helped to change that?
Thank you. That is a good question. I think what I'll do is actually share an example that is something that I try to really amplify when I'm speaking in spaces, and I think that will really answer your question. And I think that's something that I want to really raise awareness for folks who are listening right now to know, is there is a young man who spent some time in BC, and he had gone back to Saskatchewan. His name is Samuel Uko. And if anybody wants to look that information up, look up Samuel Uko. And he tried to access the healthcare system. He was experiencing a mental health crisis. He went a couple of times at least to access the healthcare system, asking for help. And this is online, as I said, so folks can access through CBC in Canada, the news channel. But he asked for help, and eventually the health authority, they asked that he be removed by security, right? He was removed by security, and again, very trigger warning here, but he was removed by security, and the next day he was found drowned in Wascana Lake. So the system failed this young man. He's of African descent. He was 20 years old, very young, very good in so many areas of his life that he had just begun. The discrimination, the racism he experienced from the healthcare system cut his life short, stole him away from his parents, his family, his community. It is so hurtful. And this is an individual we know personally in our family. And it continues to really, and this happened not too long ago, very recently, actually, just post-COVID. It continues to, baffle me how a person who is in crisis, in a mental health crisis, attends a healthcare system and gets removed by security. I don't understand that. As a person who's worked in the healthcare system, particularly, majority of my practice, as I said, is in mental health substance use. There was not even a trauma-informed approach at all, not to talk about an anti-racist approach. And so the work we do, the work that I do personally, is to try to make sure that I create awareness around these things happening, and also call on healthcare systems across Canada, call on healthcare professionals on a personal level, micro, meso level as well, to really be actively anti-racist. That involves really challenging biases. That involves seeing things and speaking up and saying something about it. That involves standing beside someone who is being discriminated against. Yeah, it's nice to give people a hug. It's nice to be nice about what you have to say to them in the back if things happen, but it's no joke. It's costing people's lives. And so it's time to act. And we create awareness about acting, but also saying, hey, if you're going to be an ally, be an active ally, be actively anti-racist.
So how is that coming in terms of percentage, this advocacy, the buy-in, the scale of buy-in in that sense? And if you have a metrics for measuring how you've made progress, what will it be, so that we can see that we're here, now we are there? Because the most difficult form of racism is institutional racism. It's just like a fly on the wall. You have to detect it literally. You can't see it coming.
No, that is a fair question. I think when it comes to anti-racism work, I always say to people, less is more. I'm not saying that because I don't expect a whole lot of changes very quickly, but we know that, as you said, it's deeply entrenched in the healthcare system. It's deeply entrenched in so many other aspects of our society here in Canada. One thing that I will say that I'm happy to see is that, it's something I'm intentional about, is also realizing that some people have been told a narrative from when they're young, through their family, through generations, that certain things were actually not the way they are. Certain truths have been told to people in a way that is actually not true. I'll give you an example, for example, with regards to here in Canada, within the Indigenous community. One of my colleagues and I attended an event, and one of the attendees, she shared a story saying not until the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Actions and report came out, she actually thought, based on what she was told, that colonization was a harmonious time for Indigenous peoples and folks from Europe who came in to colonize Canada. And so through the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action and the report, she found out that children, it was not a harmonious relationship, and children as young as 5 years old were forcibly removed from their homes and put into the residential school system to indoctrinate them and or assimilate them, assimilate them into a bit of what they call the Canadian system. And so not being able to tell your truth is one thing that has really done damage. And so for me, again, just to answer your question here, is really making sure that that truth is told. You know, as we say in Africa, we say, until the lion tells its own story, it will look as though the hunter is a hero, something along those lines. And so having that truth told is something that has really pulled in allyship work, right? Having allies who are pushing this work forward and joining in the anti-racism movement. I think having allies is a big piece because, you know, there's a lot of burden on people like myself, people who look like me, racialized folks to do this work. And so we need allies across the globe to push forward anti-racism efforts. And I'll just say one final thing as well is that when doing the allyship, there's definitely room to make mistakes. There's definitely room to get up, adjust, and move forward. So the allyship piece is something that I'm hopeful will help us, you know, see more of significant steps forward. And that we're starting to see that allyship.
For a lot of people, might be shocked hearing about racism in Canada, you know, because they see Canada as safe haven. Things like that do not happen, right? Because it's a neighbor in America and all that. But it's great to hear that you're doing what you're doing to still find a way to reduce the incidents. And we've heard stories time and again. In fact, some Nigerians living in Canada having some harrowing experiences and all of that. But I want to talk more about your Igala descent, right? Your Igala. And that's a very powerful, you know, bloodline that you have in that sense. How does that also provide a safe space for you? Because you're the president of, or even the co-founder, I imagine, of Igala Canada, right? So is the Nigerian blood, the Igala blood particularly now in you, is this also, is it helping you to forge ahead? And how is that community like in Canada?
Of course it is, Khaled. I appreciate you asking. And you know, in the beginning, my intention was to greet my Igala people across the globe from the diaspora
Please
back
do it,
home.
do it, do it.
Me wala du chaka bomi be Igala kuma du bibo Igala kuma di Canada. Ngo du kuma do dede me chaka na agugwa me na go chaka. Edam che bok dem ni odi channel TV. And I'm very pleased again.
Wait, what am I meant to say in response to that, please? You need to teach me some of this. What am I meant to say?
You should say Agba Wolule.
Agba Wolule.
There you go, which means thank you, you're welcome. I appreciate that. Now you're on the right path. I appreciate that. Okay, so honestly, I think the Igala blood is strong. It's something that, you know, makes, you know, every fiber in my being, it makes me, right? And so being an Igala woman, I'll share very quickly, my mother, Mary Achoba, is from Ida. And my father, Isaac Achoba, is from Ibaji, which makes me an indigenous of Ibaji, particularly Chalajode. And so, again, very proudly walking into any space that I go into as an Igala woman and person. In Canada, we co-founded, myself and a few others co-founded the Igala Canada Association in 2022. And ever since, we've just grown. Like, the population has grown from coast to coast because we have members in every single province and territory across Canada. That is massive. Considering if you think about the size of Canada and how much land, how much space, that's impressive. We even have folks in Nunavut, right, which is the northernmost and largest territory in Canada. So our community, we're very strong. We come together every month. We hold plenary sessions. We hold guest speaker sessions. We have folks speak to us about key issues, you know, policing in Canada, for example, you know, early detection and screening for our various areas as well.
Yes, my apologies. I would have allowed you to keep talking, but I know we put you in that zone of an Igala queen or princess in that sense, and you wanted to keep going. But we're totally out of time. Thank you so much, Adigo Angela Achoba Omajali. So, warm regards as well to your Igbira brothers and sisters, as well as your Okun people.
You should say Agbawolule, Jeffrey.
No, I'm saying,
Thank you.
I'm saying, I know she's a gala, and I say she say one regards to Igbira and Okun people. So can you do that?
You want me to give regards to Igbira and Okun people?
Just a shout out to them. You're giving to Igala people now, so give it to Okun and.
Well, how about, I understand. How about I give a shout out to every single tribe from Kogi State? All of my people, Menago, Chaka. And very quickly, before I hand it back to you, the Igala Canada Association supported the movie project Ohioma, and the next launch is in Lagos for the movie Ohioma on June 21st. So as the president, I encourage people to reach out and support the community.
All right, I'll send you an invoice. This one, the way you're going, I'll send you an invoice.
It's all in community.
Thank you so much. Clinical practice educator at MHSU, co-chair, Canadian Nurses Association, Anti-Racism Action Council, as well as she's co-founder of many things and recipients of several orders, including the King Charles III Coronation Medal 2025. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate that. Take care.